there, heroes! For today's adventure, Henry Kathman will be taking you on a journey through the world of teachers' unions. Now let the lesson begin.
Of all the professions that can be found in our everyday lives, there are few as consequential as those seen in education. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics in April 2024, there were an estimated 17.4 million people working in public schools throughout the United States. A majority of those jobs are teachers, but this also accounts for the principals, administrators, custodians, food and health workers, and the other jobs that are made to ensure that students are provided the best education possible. Taken as a whole, public education comprises around 75% of the country's 23 million government jobs, and 10% of the entire country's total labor force of 169 million. Even when compared to the private sector, public schools employ more people than all of the 28 largest private companies in the US put together. Though these numbers aren't even accounting for students, in fall of 2022, 49.6 million students were enrolled in public schools. Statistically, a majority of people watching this video right now are a product of public education. And even if you didn't have the most positive school experience, I'm sure you can think of at least one teacher who has made your life better in some way. All of this makes the constant attacks on public education one of the most frightening developments seen in the United States. Luckily, this is one area where it is easy for everyday people to step up and push back against these kinds of attacks, which is thanks in part to the work done by teachers' unions all throughout the country. There are currently two major teachers' unions found in the United States: the National Education Association and the American Federation of Teachers. Founded in 1857 and 1916 respectively, these two organizations have been advocating for improvements to public schooling for both students and teachers for over a century, oftentimes acting on the forefront of the fight for equality in the United States. The NEA regularly denounced slavery during the Civil War. Both organizations pushed for equal pay scales for men and women in the 1950s. They were instrumental in John F. Kennedy expanding collective bargaining rights to all federal workers in 1962, and were frequent collaborators with civil rights activists during the fight to end segregation in the 60s. Even after the country saw massive declines in union membership in the 1980s, the NEA and the AFT have remained the first and third largest labor unions in the country, acting as one of the leading advocates for not only just education reform, but improvements to public health, child labor laws, and queer liberation. And today, when certain lawmakers are pushing to remove civil rights protections and the censorship of information that defies white supremacist patriarchy, teachers have oftentimes been the biggest voices in pushing back against this legislation. As a key example, in 2022, the Indiana House of Representatives and Senate put forward House Bill 1134 and Senate Bill 167. Both of these bills were introduced when the buzzword amongst outrage merchants was CRT, and groups like Moms for Liberty and the Heritage Foundation advocated that any materials they deemed controversial be removed from curriculums. The language of both bills specifically advocated that, quote, schools acting in an official capacity may not include or promote certain concepts as part of a course of instruction or in a curriculum or direct or otherwise compel a school employee or student to adhere to certain tenets that relate to the individual's sex, race, ethnicity, religion, color, national origin, or political affiliation. In simple terms, both of these bills were calling for teachers to create a full catalog of the materials that they were going to create at the beginning of the year, something that most Indiana public schools already do, but doing so in a way where it would be much easier to completely remove the teaching of certain class materials and topics if someone was to object to it. These bills garnered national attention when State Senator Scott Baldwin advocated that teachers act impartial when teaching history under this bill, stating, quote, I'm not discrediting Nazism, fascism, Marxism, or any of those isms out there. I have no problem with the education system providing instruction on the existence of those isms. I believe that we've gone too far when we take a position on those isms. We need to be impartial. You heard that right. Baldwin advocated that teachers shouldn't take a position when it comes to discussing Nazis. Indiana has had a Republican supermajority since 2011, And similar bills were easily passed in other states like Florida, Missouri, Texas, and Wyoming. There was no reason why Indiana couldn't have joined in. Though against those odds, both of these bills saw massive pushback from parents, teachers, and students who coordinated with the Indiana State Teachers Association, which is a branch of the NEA. It was thanks to these lobbying efforts and public outrage that both House Bill 1134 and Senate Bill 137 were killed, ensuring that Indiana would not acquiesce to these reactionary measures. It was from that unlikely success that I have found myself becoming a more active member of my local teachers union, which has served as an avenue for me to meet with my legislators, attend school board meetings, and advocate for the rights of students and teachers alike. And even if you aren't a teacher, aren't in school, or have any children attending school, advocating for improvements to public education in your city and state can help schools continue to succeed in the fight for equality. There are a couple of ways you can do this. The first involves looking up your community's local teachers union. As mentioned before, teachers unions make up some of the largest union organizations in the United States, so it's pretty much guaranteed that there will be some presence no matter where you live. Once you've done that, look into any events that the organization is holding and see which one encourage attendance from the general public. These typically include school board meetings, city council hearings, and state legislator town halls. If you are unsure on which events are open to the public, you can get more information by contacting your local union president. Outside of that, you can also support their work by following the legislative efforts endorsed by your state or local teachers union. I understand that there are a number of people that are rightfully skeptical towards electoral politics, especially on a national level. Though unlike decisions made by those in the federal government, the laws that dictate how schools are run are often decided on by people in your local community who are much easier to get in contact with, and are likewise going to be a lot more open to hear your thoughts on the changes you would like to see. As such, if you want to figure out which local or state legislation needs the most public attention, your local teachers union is a great place to start, since they will often publish summaries of the bills they are endorsing and opposing at any given time. Because of all the issues we face in the world, education has some of the widest impacts because of how instrumental it can be for who we become as people. It's not uncommon for folks to compare teachers to superheroes, but they also serve as a reminder that no matter who you are, we all can be superheroes.
So there you have it. If you would like to learn more about how you can help out your local teachers, check out the Educators Cooperative, a mutual aid network created by teachers for teachers at educatorcooperative.com. And if you sign up for our Patreon, all proceeds for the month of April 2025 will go directly to the Educators Cooperative. Remember, the world can be a scary place, and that's why we need heroes. So until we meet again, let's all be superheroes, and I'll see you in the next adventure. Visit Henry Kathman at his channel.